one, how should states be represented in our brand new government? Start us off, please, Mr. Hamilton.
I think that states should be represented by their population because, for example, when it shows their for example, on page 109 in the package, it shows the population of the states in 1790. So basically, let's say, for example, Delaware, Georgia, and Rhode Island, the two small, one of the most smallest states, wanted to oppose maybe slavery, for example. But then that's when Virginia and then Pennsylvania, two of the largest states, denied that request. Obviously, Virginia and Pennsylvania would get the request. So that means that they will be living how America should be lived. So population should be, so that's why states should be represented by their population. And so what America should really be led by.
Mr. Gilman.
I disagree with you, Mr. Hamilton. I believe that the state should not be represented by the population because therefore Virginia, which has over 700,000 people, will have more say than a smaller state, such as New Hampshire, and that's not fair because we can't be heard just because we're smaller than you.
Mr. I'm not sure what you are nameless, sir.
James Wilson.
What happened to your face? Are you a dwarf, sir? Anyway, speak.
Well, I also disagree with you, Mr.
Hamilton.
And giving a definition of the
Sir, and being respectful to the other delegates. There's no one whose name is whatever.
And giving a definition of the simple kinds of government known throughout the world, I have occasion to describe what I meant by a democracy. The people retain the supreme power and exercise it either collectively by representation, which is evident from the manner in which it is announced, we the people.
Sir.
Hi, I'm Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, good to see you. How's your leg?
Good.
Oh, good.
I would like to agree with Mr. Hamilton. I do think that the states, the number of representatives a state sends to Congress will depend on the state's population. The number of representatives a state sends to Congress should depend on the state's population. Why is it that 700,000 people living in Virginia have the same amount of representatives for the 95,000 in Delaware? The 700,000 in Virginia will have more problems and opinions than the 95,000 living in Delaware.
Mr.
Charles Pickney.
Isn't there a Coatsworth in there somewhere?
Yes.
Too much ale.
I believe that the number of representatives, I believe that the number of representatives.
Okay, sir, I'm going to pause you here for a second.
Oh.
What's interesting, Mr. Franklin brought up a point, and I'm not sure if you're going to refute what he said, which is sort of the nature of these conversations.
Right. I agree with Mr. Benjamin Franklin. I believe that the number of representatives a state sends to Congress will depend on the state's population, because the more representatives there is, you can get your point heard and conveyed and to put that point in play. If all people are created equal, states with more people deserve to have more say. If each state had 10 representatives, in Virginia, each congressman will represent 69,200 people. Each vote equals 1 out of 29, 200. But in Delaware, each congressman will only represent 5,900 people. Each vote equals 1 out of 5, 900. That's not fair to Virginia citizens. In other words, 109,000 people in Georgia and Delaware combined to outvote 692,000 people in Virginia. The current system in the Articles of Confederation is flawed and unfair. And that's not our problem if your state is small.
What? That point was pretty on. So, does anyone have anything to state in regards to that? Because Mr. Pinkney actually had some pretty compelling data.
To agree or disagree?
Agree, disagree. Sir, you are Mr. Morris.
Governor Morris.
Governor Morris, yes.
I definitely agree with my fellow over there. I believe that Pennsylvania, as a large state, we should have more representatives. Because remember, we represent the people, not the states. So, if we have more representatives for our large state, we're going to be able to get the opinions of all of our people across. Because, think about it, if we have, let's say, 2 representatives for our state, how are we going to manage our entire state? We, of course, need more representatives to represent every one of our people.
William Bow, I agree with Governor Morris because a large state population won't representative. The government won't be the government won't be strong because one person cannot govern a whole large group of people. Also, the citizens of the state aren't wealthy. They don't need that many people representatives because it won't be that much to represent.
I would like to agree with Mr. Bout and Governor Morris again about the fact. Bout. Okay, sorry for the interest. Sorry for the mispronunciation. I think that states should be represented by the population because it's not all fault that your state might be smaller and that you feel like a sort of need to make everybody else to bring us all down. So if you want to have a civil war over this, go right ahead. But it's just a kind of pity excuse to feel that we need to lower our standards to yourself.
Ooh, burn. Some of our smaller states are oddly quiet about this. New Jersey.
Yeah. What's your name again?
Nicholas Gilman.
Okay, I would like to agree with her, like she said.
I'm a man.
There are no women. There are no women at this convention.
I meant him, like he said, because I believe that we shouldn't get swallowed up, like I said in my New Jersey plan, that we shouldn't get swallowed up based on
Ooh,
our
tell us about this
population.
plan. This is the first we're hearing of it.
Oh, so I kind of agree with the Virginia plan, but the difference is that I think that Congress, no matter how big or small the plan is, how big or small the state is, that everyone should have like equal count or help me out, sir.
Representatives?
Yes, representatives. Because I feel as though we shouldn't be swallowed up because of our number.
I'm James Madison, and I agree with you, but we can't control the geography, and we can't control the size of the states. But I'd like to ask you a question. How successful do you think the New Jersey plan would have been?
I think it would have been pretty successful, more successful than the Virginia plan, because I think people voices would have been heard more.
Franklin?
Mr. Franklin, let's talk once again. I would like to bring up the point of the Northwest Ordinance, which, if you don't know, it divided the Northwestern states into smaller states. So therefore, it also states that as soon as the territory had 5,000 free adult males, it could elect its own legislator or lawmaking body. When the population reached 60,000, a territory could apply to Congress to become a state. So with that, it's basically saying that the more people in your population, the more people you need to represent you. So there's no reason that every state has an equal set amount of people representing them, where if there's more people in that state, there's obviously more opinions and more problems that's going to occur.
Well, it appears that we have two very strong feelings about this. It appears that we need a compromise. Hint. This is the part where I scan the room because you know full well that the compromise was proposed. And based on the trash talking happening over at the tavern last night, some of you did have some pretty strong feelings about that and need to share.